You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den, episode 76 with Lou Paget. Answers to the questions about sex you were too embarrassed to ask. Hey ladies, welcome in to the Dating Den today. Oh boy, I'm so excited. I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Isn't there, you remember that song? I think it was like, take me to the candy shop. Anyway, it's about sex and it's not about candy. And my kids were like little kids and I was like humming along and they started to make fun of me. But the tie is I have the world's best sex educator in the den with me right now. So it is like the candy shop. Welcome, Lou. How you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks, Marni, for having me.
I'm super excited about it. So for those of you who don't know Lou Paget, where you been? She began her career in LA, actually, after leaving Canada in 1989. She was a professional development coach, and she had this really strong background in physical science, and she was researching for 15 years in human sexuality, and she began organizing women's focus groups on sex in the early 90s. And from there, oh my gosh, she's literally turning on the world with accurate information about sex. She's got sexuality seminars. She talks about the merits of sexual forays, fantasies, fallacies, and fears in a safe and open forum. And she's written amazing books, which I think my clients have used. I'll tell you a little story. I got to meet Lou last weekend. She's got How to Be a Great Lover, Girlfriend to Girlfriend, totally explicit techniques that will blow his mind. And her other book, How to Give Her Absolute Pleasure, totally explicit techniques every woman wants her man to know. She's been published everywhere. Cosmo, GQ, Men's Health, Bride, Jane, Marie Claire. She's been on the ever-famous HBO series Real Sex. And she had a cameo appearance in a feature film called Body Shots. And last weekend, for my very exclusive clients that paid me the really big bucks, we had a weekend together, and Lou came. And she had us practicing hand jobs. What do you call them? They're not dildos. What do you call them?
Instructional products.
Instructional products. And we all learned something new. But most of all, I think what was really fascinating to me, and that's why I wanted to get her on the show, is that, in our own little minds around sex, it's really easy to think that how we think is possibly how everyone else thinks, or how we do it is how everyone else does it, or the way we do it is wrong, or the way we do it is the only way. And what I realized from being in that really amazing group and people asking powerful questions and getting really honest answers for the first times in their lives, I think, is that this is just stuff we need to talk about it. And so that's why you're here, Lou. So again, just welcome and thank you for really living your gift for my people. It's just amazing.
Well, it is my pleasure. And, as you in the introduction, I am like everyone else. I had the hard sciences background, but I had as many questions as everyone else. And I just said, you know what? I'm not getting the information the way I want to hear it and that is useful for me. And what I was finding, and this was, 20 years ago when I first started looking, that the information was very skewed to male sexual function. It had nothing to do with female pleasure, very little. And I went, this is absurd. And so I started asking people, what's the best thing someone's ever done to you? Mm-hmm. And I will admit, initially, people looked at me like I had 5 eyes. And
yeah, I bet.
And I said, no. I said, I just want to know, because I said, for me, I know that this is something everyone is doing, but no one's talking about accurately. And I just want to put together, as my term is, a buffet of ideas. We're born of sexuality. It's where we all come from. We should have the ability to learn in a respectful and accurate manner. So that's what I was looking for me. And so I asked people, they would tell me, anytime you want to ask anyone a question like that, make sure it's after an adult beverage or two. And don't stare straight at them. Turn to the side, kind of like you're in a car, and just ask the question, because direct eye contact, it's like if, an aggressive dog, you don't have direct eye contact. It makes people nervous if there's too much eye contact often when you ask these questions. But people started telling me things. And I was like, oh, that works. Oh, that would, oh. And so it was not that I was going to try everything, but I realized that people were sharing what was really little gems for them. And my roommate at the time was at UCLA med school, and she said, oh, you've got to share this with my friends. And I said, oh, for Sherry, what are you talking about? I said, you're in med school. She said, they don't teach us anything, which subsequently I have come to learn they don't. So they were my first focus group, all of these med students. And they were like, wow. And at the time, I was also volunteering on the AIDS ward at Cedars. I was in the first volunteer group on their immune disorders ward. And that was something that I was also, I'm sexual, I'm a sexual being, but I want to keep myself safe. So I wanted to know as much about the pleasure component as I did about the safety component, as I did about what was coming forward in the area of toys, what was coming forward in the area of what is policy, what is coming forward in the area of research. So I'm kind of like this big umbrella of information. And I'm kind of like, if you push the right button, I'll give you the answer.
I love it. You're like the jukebox.
Exactly.
The jukebox of sex. Well, let's get started. So first of all, I have to just share, because this is like information and a big win. So at the workshop, we were talking about 69, and I don't remember who asked it, but we were like, what's up with 69? And I raised my hand. I was like, I don't get it. And everybody was like, yeah, I don't get it. So I want you to tell them about 69. But I got to tell you, last night I was getting friendly with my husband, that he loves that. And I was like, I'm like, Lou told me that this is hard for me. And I never understood it, because it's hard for me to do two things at once. And he was like, really? And he's like, why can't? And I was like, I don't know. It's just the way I'm wired. So you helped me right away. And it was like really powerful. So now tell everybody, why is 69 like a hard one for women to like really get into or to pull off? Or why do we all sort of raise our hand and go, I don't get it?
Right. Okay, let's just start with, who do you think normally came up with the ideas and the original visual images of what we're supposed to work?
Well, men.
Hello. Thank you. So, and I'm going to give you another little backstory on what men have told me about 69. But here's the issue, is that for most women, it takes so much for us to like drop off all of the other things, because our brains go in about 18 different places at one time. And while we are experiencing something physically, if someone is working on one area and, touching a breast and then touching genitals and doing something else, our brain is going like this. Where do I focus?
Yes.
So with 69, you're trying to do this one thing, maintain, what you're doing, with his genitals, while you're attempting to feel what he's doing. In the meantime, you're focused more. You can't focus. And that's the problem. And that's why when someone said, what about 69? I said, 69 is ridiculous.
It is. And then I asked you last weekend, and why are men so into it?
And that's because they're seeing it in porn. They're seeing it in other things. And we as human beings, we are amazingly programmable, particularly when it comes to this area, because we don't have a lot of other information in that file folder. So with 69, it's something that's sort of like a more transition move. If you want to try it, it's a transition move. Then go on to something else where you can focus on the pleasure. Because when you're trying to receive pleasure and give pleasure, it's kind of like trying to go in two different directions on a freeway. It doesn't work well.
It totally didn't work. But what was really cool is because, it was normalized sort of in that workshop, I was able to be like, so can I do this? Because I can't, because then I'm focused on like trying to do a good job, and then I can't focus on my own good job. And so we sort of had like a win-win about it. But it was huge. So what are the other like top 2 questions you get from women around sexuality, like 69 or some other sort of top question?
Probably one of the biggest is, I'm not able to orgasm during intercourse. Is there something wrong with me?
That's a great one. That's the answer.
And no, there's nothing wrong with you. Going back again to how we get cultured about sexuality is that the real payoff is when there is penile vaginal intercourse and then there's an orgasm together. Multiple orgasms don't happen all that often, nor do simultaneous orgasms happen all that often. They will happen with couples who understand, and know one another's bodies. And invariably, if there's going to be a simultaneous orgasm, it is when the woman is on top, because the person on top controls the motion. So what I say to women, I said, are you thinking that if you are having an orgasm during penetration, that it's a true orgasm? And they will often nod their head. And I said, couldn't be further from the truth. Couldn't be.
There's all these women out there driving in their cars at the gym, like grinning. They're all grinning.
They're all going like this. Oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
And probably only maybe 20% of women orgasm during intercourse. Where most women will have their greatest amount of pleasure is with manual and oral sex. And there was this phenomenal article. It was written by a woman by the name of Susanna Weiss. And it's on the website called theestablishment.co. And what she wrote about was what a fake female orgasm statistic says about gender bias. And what she really looked at is they were looking at, it takes women 20 minutes to orgasm. So she asked all of these experts who had it written in their books. And finally, she came to the point where she even ordered books from the Kinsey Institute, Kinsey's research books, and tried to find this statistic. And what it boiled down to was these women would take 20 minutes to orgasm with intercourse after they had had an orgasm during oral or manual. So one of her comments was, and I thought, woohoo, good for you, girl. She said, these women are able to orgasm easily, but, using their own hand, 2 to 3, 4 minutes, and the similar number that what they would typically come up with for male orgasm. But what they were doing is saying female orgasms during oral or manual, that's considered foreplay. It's not considered real sex. That's the gender bias. Mm-hmm. And only with penetration and orgasm of the man, then that is considered real sex. We have to review this, and we have to change the scope that we are looking at about this, because the majority of men really do want their partners to enjoy themselves. But just using the term foreplay needs to be a term that gets moved out of the way.
Yeah. And is it common or, for a man to say, like, let me make sure you have an orgasm first and then we'll do penetration, or we'll have, however you say that properly. Is that like common? Is that too much to ask? Or is that like like healthy, best, ideal protocol? Or how does that work really?
I would say it is unique. And the main reason being is that oftentimes if men are used to, I'll have my pleasure this way, they haven't had a partner who would say, you know what, let's do this first. It's my turn tonight. Or they just are, very selfish about, or have never learned. And can there be more vulnerable time than when you're doing something with your body and you're wanting to, get to your own pleasure, and then someone says, no, that's not what works for me? Most men totally shut down.
Mm.
And that's part of the issue, is that no one has given these partners a true delivery of information. And, we talked about that, women our age have a better idea of what they may like or what they enjoy. But younger women they're not having good sex. They're having sex based on guys who have been looking at, online porn. And I remember this one, John Mayer made this comment, the singer John Mayer.
Yeah.
He said, look, I can open up my phone, and he said, I can see 1,000 pussies before breakfast. He said,
right.
There isn't anything, there isn't anything unique. And the visual imaging that ends up impacting, particularly for men, is something that they've downloaded all of these particular images that they then use to masturbate to. And that's not what real sex is.
Totally. I remember back in the day when I was dating, I dated this guy, and he was like so addicted to porn. Number one, that he was addicted to porn. But like when we were having sex, he was almost like trying to like put your leg, he wanted it to like, recreate some false sense of like what sexy is or what sensual is. And I hear from women often that this is definitely getting in the way. So, all right. So we've got, you do not have to be a person who has an orgasm from penile penetration. That's not weird if you don't. That's totally fine. We've got totally fine. We've got foreplay for women is actually the real play. It's the game. What else? What's the other most common question you get from women around sex?
Well, how can I make him do the things that I'd like him to do? And they often feel that they're going to be judged, that, they want to have, let's say someone is they wanted to try anal, but they didn't know how to ask about it. They also worry that if they ask many times, that someone's going to think that they've been doing, because there's still the sexual, there still is the, two-sided knife about women having too much sex. Henceforth, they're a slut, but the guy's a player.
Right.
And that hasn't gone away. Really, it hasn't gone away. But what women want to know is they want to know, how can I ask for what I want? And one of the easiest ways for me to describe that is to say, if you know what your body likes, and look, your nerves are your nerves. They're not someone else's nerves. So someone saying to you, and when I've done my men's seminar that I created out of the ladies' seminar, because men said, if you're doing this for women, please, you've got to do it for us.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. But what I found is that these women wanted to try things, but they weren't sure how to address it with a partner. But men do want you to, and I don't care if a guy's, gay, straight, bi, or whatever, they do want their partner to enjoy something, but they don't know how to ask for it. And if they don't know their own body, so that's one thing is, how if someone is worried that they know that they orgasm most powerfully while using a toy, well, how do I incorporate the toy?
So what do they say? Like, is it different? Is it different if it's like, it's the first few times or it's like the, 50th time?
Well, here's what also happens is that your nerves know what your nerves like. Your nerves are not necessarily governed by your brain. So, but it can be governed by how hydrated you are, what medications you're on, whether or not you're taking an antihistamine and you're dry, whether or not just remember one thing, your food is your most powerful drug. It fuels everything in your body. So the better the food is, the better, things are, the fewer medications you're taking, the better your own sexual response will be. So what I let people know is, look, your sexual response typically is going to change over time, depending on hormonal, depending on stress levels, depending on your sleep. But if you have something that is kind of like your go-to, that's what you're looking for. And for many women, they have busy lives, they work, they have children, and the thing that makes things easier is adult novelties, toys.
Okay.
And I'll use an example of a young couple. I was doing a TV show, and they were chosen by the producer who they went to the same church. And whenever I do a couple session for them, I always separate them first when I ask questions.
Okay.
And I always have the woman go first because men typically get to go first. It's a little bit of a mind twist.
Yep.
The girl is smart. So I asked her, and they had a child. And prior to having the child, they had a very robust sex life, typical. Then they have the child, and the dynamic changes. There's, a third third person in the household, and they're tired and exhausted. And I said to her, she said, I am so tired. And I said, would you be open to using, and you can use whatever term one likes to use, marital aids, toys, whatever. Mm-hmm. I said, would you be open to that? And she goes, absolutely. So I get the husband in after this. And I said, okay, well, we've got some things for you. We're going to send you, they had to do things for the next, 2 weeks.
Okay.
I have some things for you, and we're going to send you home with them. And I said, you can introduce them however you would like. I don't tell both of them the same thing.
Okay.
So when they're by themselves, they can introduce it on their timetable. Not like, Lou said you were going to have blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I don't do that. I want it to be on their schedule. So the husband comes in, and I said, would you be interested in using any marital products? And he goes, oh, absolutely not. Only certain people use those. I said, would you like to know what your wife said? He said,
that's amazing.
And I said, she was like, absolutely. He said, you are kidding. I said, nope. And he said,
wow.
And I said, you guys don't have very much time. And he said, yeah, because he said, I'll try this move, and then I'll try that move, and then I'll try this move, and then I'll try that move. And if that isn't working, and I said, isn't that exhausting for you? He said, it is. And I said, this way you can enjoy, you both know you're going to have fun, and it's a new thing for you. And that's the other thing, we talked about being a beginner. When you're a beginner, you're not expected to know. 2 weeks later, I saw the video, and he says, I'm doing the Lou dance. And he was like, oh, yeah, he said, we are just, everything is just working now.
Oh my God, that's so great. So part of it is just being open-minded and just asking. If you can't get Lou to do your mediation, you got to just sort of ask.
Correct. I mean, I can plant seeds, but you're the person who has to make them grow.
Absolutely.
So
no pun intended, Lou.
Exactly. When I look at what people really want in their lives and in their relationships is to know that someone wants them for them, not for the size of their wallet, not for the size of their breast, not for the size of their penis, but for them, which is why when people go into relationships, this is why, someone who is a top supermodel is with someone who gets all kinds of attention in their own world. They then know that people are there around them wanting things. And when someone is just there who has the same things going on, it levels the playing field.
It's beautiful.
And looking at, Prince Harry, who just married Meghan Markle, she had her own platform. She had her own world. She had her own career. And the two of them got together mainly because they both have a passion to change the world. That is their passion. And they were both used to always getting a lot of attention. Him a little more so. But so, I mean, when I look at what one of the trends are in the area of sexual health, that most people don't even have on their radar is the use of stem cell therapy for sexual function.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so what stem cells are is your own body produces your own stem cells. There's 3 different areas in your body that produce them. One, many people know about, bone marrow stem cell. That tends to be more so for blood and development things in that area. But when they are harvested, and they are also in adipose tissue, fat tissue. There's a lot of them in fat tissue. And then there also is in umbilical cord and placental cord blood. But what they are is they are harvested. So they'll harvest some fat from your body, and then they spin them down in a centrifuge.
Okay.
And anyone who's done any spinning around it. So those cells are separated out. And then what you have are these cells that go to areas of your body. First thing the stem cells will do is they will go to an area where there's inflammation and deal with the inflammation.
Okay.
Yeah. If you cut your finger, You see all the macrophages, all of those, they run to that area, the big heavy hitters, and they go, okay, we've got to take care of this, build this up. So when you cut your finger, you don't end up having, the finger stuff thrown on the end of your nose. Your body is smart.
Right.
It knows where to send things. So the stem cells, they can either be injected locally to an area, or they can be given by IV, intravenous, and spread systemically throughout your entire body. But in the area of sexual health, PRP is called platelet-rich plasmapheresis. And that in combination with calcium gluconate, that is something that can be injected vaginally, clitorally, and labially to bring back the volume of tissue that may have been lost after a surgery, perimenopausally or menopausally. And what it will also do is improve bladder function, bladder control function.
Wow. So you could go to your physician if you're having any of these, and you could ask them about stem cell therapy.
Correct. Or platelet-rich PRP therapy, because PRP is platelet-rich plasmapheresis. Your blood is drawn, it's spun down, so it has the growth factors in it. But stem cells themselves, what they do is they will go to an area and build up the tissue in that area. If you've ever heard of the vampire facelift, that's in essence what it is.
Okay. I haven't heard of it, but sounds...
But stem cells for your body and maintaining general health and sexual health. For men, it can help with erectile issues. For women, it can help with urinary, bladder control, stress, incontinence. So, like women who have had, many children, if they sneeze, they leak. Hey, there's a reason why a huge aisle in drugstores now for incontinence undergarments. But I will also tell you, my understanding is the number one reason why women, older women, get put into long-term care facilities is because of incontinence. Grandma has incontinence, and they don't want to have to keep cleaning up after, bowel or bladder issues. Do you know how angry the guys are and the women are who own those long-term care facilities are going to be about knowing when they find out that this is going to be something that's going to shut off the valve for people coming in, that they can then charge $4 to $5 to $8 a month?
Right. They're gonna fix it. What about, and I have to ask, a lot of our clients talk about, when you're dating a man in a certain age range, just ED comes up and they all, it's a thing. So is it a thing? Is it like if you're in your 50s, you're going to experience what's going on around erectile dysfunction and medications for that, and what can women do, and what should they expect?
Well, just being really honest, when a man turns 40, as men have described it, their erections start to get iffy. And the other thing is that with stress, one of the biggest things with stress is you have a buildup of cortisol. Thank you, adrenals. Well, cortisol acts in absolute opposition to testosterone. So when you see men who are getting older, who are getting pot-bellied, that's the cortisol pad. But it's also if a man has not been, is not being sexually active on an ongoing basis, or not masturbating a lot, his erections could be questionable. The other thing is that there may not be enough blood flow. It may be a blood flow issue that they don't get as much. Now, and they also don't have as much testosterone in their system.
Okay.
So there's two things that power orgasms and clitoral engorgement and penile engorgement, and that is blood, and the other is oxygen. So if someone's not in good shape, the first thing that's going to be impacted if they don't have good blood flow to other areas of their body, the penis has a lot of very small, tiny blood vessels in it. Those are the first blood vessels that get impacted. So if someone is taking antidepressants, or they are taking, and there are certain antidepressants that are the worst, or anti-anxiety, or antihypertensives, or cardiac medication, and all of these things, what you need to do if you're with someone and you see that there's a future going forward, make sure you get the insert from the drug and read the sections that talk about the impacts. It should be there. It should be right there. Now, older men, typically, they will be told that they need to be on all kinds of different medications. It's not unusual for men in 50s, and older to be on multiple medications. And one may be trying to mask something that the other is, all of which will have an impact on sexual function, invariably. So with antidepressants, and they won't talk about this, you can ask someone, you can ask a physician, but oftentimes they won't be told the real deal from drug reps.
Okay.
And the most important thing that you can do is say, I need to know what could be the possible impacts here.
Right.
It's the same thing for women. Antidepressants can cause anorgasmia, can't have an orgasm. You could have genital anesthesia, you don't feel anything, and then you have a drop in your libido. Now, if you're a depressed person, you may not be all that interested in, being single to begin with. That's one thing altogether. But if when you're on these, that's there. But the issue is, Marni, is that when you go off them, those conditions are permanent for some people.
Wow.
So people have to know what these things can possibly do. Now, the other thing is that someone can be a tremendous lover, and it's not about intercourse.
Right.
all.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely. I mean, I had one of my mentors was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Bernie Zilbergeld. And Bernie wrote a book, New Male Sexuality, which was a breakthrough in our field. And he also did a review of people, hundreds of his clients. He was based in San Francisco. He has since passed, but he did a review of people who considered themselves to be great lovers. And he actually said that I remember listening to him at one of our peer conferences, ASECT, American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. And he said a number of these people who consider themselves to be great lovers, he said they did not have intercourse, but he said they had tremendous intimacy. They had tremendous connection with one another. And touch is one of the most powerful. And being able to touch someone and be in their physical space. We are a touch-starved culture. And so when I tell people, I say, look, you can still be a tremendous lover. You could hold a partner's hand, guide their hand to where, you want a vibe to be or where you want their hand to be or change of things. And if you're giving someone direction, probably the easiest thing to do is use one word to guide them. Oh, softer, lighter, oh, more. Here, yes. Don't use a full sentence like, I don't like that.
Right. No or good or yes is good direction. So what I hear you saying is that as women are dating in the late 40s, 50s, 60s and above, that these issues might come up and that there are conversations you can have around it. And number two is there's lots of different ways to have physical intimacy. So don't rule someone out, ladies, just because. I'm just saying. Just saying. Lou, you're amazing. I got to have you back in the dating den. We have so many more things to talk about. Yes. It's really, really been so enlightening. And if you were going to say the most famous Louism, right? People go you know what? If that one thing Lou said to me just stuck with me for the rest of my life, what would it be? I'm so fascinated to know that.
Ooh, that would probably be a sheet of the number of them. One thing that telling people that they need to maintain hugging and kissing. And the kissing, if you're not being kissed the way that you want, this is the way to give someone direction without them knowing and without it being that there's any judgment. Kiss them the way you like to be kissed. How much lip, how much tongue, how much whatever you would like. Guide their head by holding the back of their head. So kiss them the way you like, step one. Step two, go, oh, wow, I just love kissing. I love kissing you. And then kiss them again and then pull back number three and say, will you show me what it feels like to be kissed by me?
Brilliant.
And then that way they will kiss as you want. And then you can say, does it feel like this? And then they'll do it again, at which point it's a mirroring of what you want.
I freaking love that. So, ladies, again, you cannot rule him out just because the first couple kisses weren't great, because now Lou told you how to make it the way you want it. You are so damn empowering, Lou Paget. I love it. I love it. Ladies, thank you for being here. We'll definitely have Lou back. Hey, if you want to get more info about Lou, grab one of her books. There's diagrams and instructions. You can start with a free ebook that she has. They're in the show notes, loupaget.com. Lou, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to my personal den live in LA and working with my clients. We love you. And ladies, have some great sex and do it with dignity. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Glenn. Bye-bye.